My sweet friends, I can't believe that we're already starting to think about a spring and Easter crafts. Guys, I know it may be a little bit early for you, but we need to have some inspiration. So when those spring and Easter things start hitting our shelves in our favorite stores, want to give you some inspiration. Save this video so you can refer back to it, and let's get started. This is another smashed can project using one of the gallon cans. And I am fortunate my mother makes barbecue sauce, so she washes those out for me so that I can use them for my creations. Now I take them home and have my husband smash the bottom. He just puts them in his vise that he has out in his shop. And so that has where I can have the bottoms together. Now to kind of secure it also, I have just put a piece of burlap ribbon there in the bottom before I am going to spray in my foam, which when this dries, it is going to act like my styrofoam. Now I completely forgot that I wanted to put some holes in the side. And so this foam, it's an insulation foam. And so when it dries, it works really, really good. But I had forgot to put the holes in. And so just a disclaimer here, don't work with this stuff if it's not completely dry. I really just should have just scrapped this and just went on to another one, but I'm like, no, I'm going to use this one. And so what I did is I used my Cropofile and put the holes in there, just put them on the sides. Then I put some of my black wire in there. That is going to be my hanger. And so if you get this little foam insulation on your skin, it is really hard to get off and it's really sticky. And so I would not advise to do that. All right. So I am going to give my can a coat of chalk paint. You could also use spray paint. And so since this can is the spray foam, it does kind of like rise. And so I just cut that off with a serrated knife. I just cut off the kind of the top of it. And so then there before that, I was just kind of showing some of the greenery and flowers that I'm going to use. All right. So these napkins, these beautiful pink and maroon napkins are from Hobby Lobby. And so they are 2-ply. So I'm going to take off that white backing. And then because I don't need it, I don't need that 2-ply. So then what I'm going to do is just kind of figure out how, just kind of guesstimate how I want to put this napkin on my can. So once I put my Mod Podge on there and then it dries, then I go back and I trim off the sides of that because I only want a little bit to overlap. And so I am just using just regular Mod Podge here, just putting that on with my little foam brush. And then I will also have the napkin kind of wrap around the bottom because I really feel that that gives a really nice touch. And so then let that completely dry on both sides that my napkin will not tear. And then what I'll do is put a layer of Mod Podge on top of the napkin to seal it off. And in this video, I'm using the matte Mod Podge. Now, here is the array of flowers and greenery that I have decided to use in this smashed can arrangement. They are so versatile that you can really just use anything. So first, what I'm going to do is add some of this moss. And I got this moss over at Hobby Lobby, my favorite store. And so what I'm going to do to kind of get it started, because this is kind of messy, very messy, I'm going to be using some U-pins, and those can be found in the floral section as well. They are my best friend with using these little or making these little arrangements. So I just put the U-pin in there, stick it in there, and it's going to stay. I am also going to be using my steel pick machine that is off the camera that puts a little steel pick on the ends of the greenery or flowers, and it helps just kind of secure things in there. I'm also going to be dipping that into hot glue that is on the right side. I just use the Sure Bonder hot glue melting pot that is in the floral section at Hobby Lobby. I love that so much, and I just melt the Gorilla hot glue sticks in there, and then just sticking that little steel pick in there just really helps it secure it, because I do sell my creations at a local gift shop here in my hometown of Brenham, Texas. And so I want this to be secure so that the customer can hang it on their door or wherever they want to hang it in their home, and then do not worry about things falling out. So these little whimsical pieces, greenery, those are from Hobby Lobby, and I just kind of cut several of them apart and then put the steel pick on the end. Guys, I am just here to encourage you, to inspire you to create little things like this that you can make for gifts, or if you have your own craft booth, or if you are doing craft shows, or if you're someone that wants to have a girls' night, our friends over and say, hey, what can we do? This is something different. And then everyone can pick their own flowers out. If you don't have to use a napkin to Mod Podge on. You can if you want, but this is just something that I am inspiring you to do. And I'm so glad that you're here. Now, guys, these pink roses, these came from Hobby Lobby. And so I cut them apart. I had 2 or 3 little bunches of these. I think it was 3 of them. Well, then when I was working with them, those little rosebuds, they popped off really very easily. So I'm going to go back in a little bit later, and you're going to see me gluing each one of those on individually, because I wanted to give it that extra security. Okay, this red eucalyptus is something that I got from Dollar Tree a couple of years ago, and I had it in my stash. And so I decided to use this because I did not have any of this color of florals to match this, bring that color out that was in that napkin. I don't think Dollar Tree has that anymore, but I would love it if they would bring that colorful eucalyptus back. But all Dollar Trees are not the same. Who wants to say amen to that? Because I know that really good, because not all Dollar Trees are the same. Sometimes if you see it, you better get it, because if not, it's going to be gone the next time you do. So here I just glued those rosebuds on there just to secure it. Now this very whimsical kind of airy bush came from Hobby Lobby. They have them all of the time, and I would definitely recommend buy them when they're on sale, because Hobby Lobby, along with everything else, has increased their prices. Anyway, so I'm going to stick some of these in there, add a little bit of that whimsy pink bush there to the right, and just finish all of this off. I did not put a bow on this or anything. I just really think that with the napkin, the florals, anything, it just looks so pretty, and I just cannot wait for someone to have this hanging in their home. I stuck in the can a little Hello metal stake that I picked up from the spring shop over at Hobby Lobby, and this little floral smash can decor piece is complete. This beaded bunny door hanger is so stinking cute. I was totally inspired when I saw one painted by Mandy East over on TikTok. I fell in love with it, and I said, I want to make one for myself for my door this season. So I will leave a link to her TikTok below, because that is where I got the inspiration. And thank you to Mandy for inspiring me. Okay, guys, so what I'm doing here, or what I'm using, is a 15-inch wood round. Now, I like to get my wood rounds from Borowood.com. And the beaded bunny hanger is from Hobby Lobby. So I'm going to mark off where I want to drill my holes. I'm just using my little cordless drill just to drill some holes, and then I'm going to be attaching the beaded hanger to my wooden round with some bind wire. And I gave this wood round a coat of plaster chalk paint. Now I'm using this bind wire. It is from Amazon. It is listed in my storefront. It comes in green as well as dark brown. And next, what I want to do is add the hello. I just loved the whole thing about everything with this entire project. And so I had a spring pick that I had that said hello, but it was just a smidgen too small. So I went to my Cricut and searched for the search images and search hello, and tons of images popped up. So I just found one that I liked and cut it on my Cricut Joy. Now what I'm going to do, guys, is add some brown shading to it, and just using my vintage photo distress ink and a little finger dauber, I'm just going around that on this circle. And then also I'm going to be adding some shading with the vintage photo distress ink around the letters just to make them pop. Then I'm going to just give it a coat of the silver glitter spray. I got that off of Etsy and love using that just to give my projects just a little bit of sparkle. So using that tan bind wire, I am just putting it in one of the holes, and I'm going to be putting it in between the beads and then securing it on the back, twisting it so that it's secured on the back. Then later I will to kind of mask those wires or that bind wire, I'll just cover them with pieces of felt, because it does two different things. It covers up the bind wire, secures it, and then it also provides me something on the back of, since this is a door hanger, that if it does blow, it does not clank against the door. That is one of my pet peeves. I hate when things are outside and they knock against the door. I just hate that sound. Anyway, so I have this gold wire, or it's kind of, I don't know, like a champagne color. I think I got that at Michael's and really like it for my door hangers, just to make a hanger for it to hang on the door. Now I'm going to thread it through the back, and then I'm going to just use my needle nose pliers just to curl it on itself, kind of secure it so that the wire is all nice and snug in there, so that when it hangs on my door, it won't budge and slip through there. These are the greenery and the florals that I'm going to be using for this sweet little bunny. I just love all of the pinks and yellows and greenery and everything that I have. I also showed that ribbon that I'm going to be using to make the bow, and that ribbon came from Craft Outlet. Now these beautiful little mini tulips came from no, roses. I think these are roses. These came from Michael's, and probably the yellow, I'm thinking that came from either Michael's or Hobby Lobby. Those small little pink flowers right there came from Walmart. And then also these little white flower greenery came from Craft Outlet as well. And then I'm also going to be using some pip berries in my little swag, because I love me some pip berries. So I just kind of cut those off and then start arranging my garland the way that I want it. I kind of slide those greeneries up on the stem so that I can have most of them up at the top, and just kind of position each flower, or the different color of flower on each side. I ended up not using all of the pink roses or tulips. I think they're roses. But I will save the others for a different project. And so sometimes, gathering this is a little tricky, but I have just found if I take my time and hold it together, I can use some of that bind wire just to hold all of that together. Then I go back and add some floral tape, also to really give it a good hold. And then that is what I'm going to be doing using that green bind wire to attach my swag to the bead bunny, so that way everything is nice and secure and on my bunny. Okay, I apologize right here. I had zoomed in on my camera, and I guess I didn't realize that it was I was out of the frame when I was making my bow. I apologize. But again, I'm as I mentioned, this ribbon came from Craft Outlet. It's a 2.5-inch burlap ribbon with beautiful little flowers on that I thought would be perfect for this beaded bunny door hanger. So I just made 4 loops, 2 on each side. I gather it in the middle. Then I just secured everything with a zip tie in the middle. And then I also have a pipe cleaner. And then that is what I'm going to use to attach my bow to my swag and also glue it down and everything so that it's all nice and secure. Here I am taking the green bind wire and attaching it in several places just so that my swag is secure at the top of my bunny. Now, in the middle of my bow, I am going to make a larger pink felt rose. Now, I do have a video here on my channel. I will leave a link for that for how I make my felt flowers. But here, just really quick, you start with a circle, or start with a square, or this is more of a rectangle, and then you just start somewhere, make a point, and then start cutting it kind of the size that you want. And so I'm just taking my scissors, going around, and since I want a little larger rose, I have a little bigger piece. And so I just keep cutting until I get to the end. And so then what I'm going to do, just to start wrapping it on itself, I just get my hot glue, give a little bit of that little roll it in the center, just giving dots of hot glue as I go along. And then I get to a point where I think, oh, this is big enough. So I ended up not even using this whole piece, but I'll go ahead and save that for another rose or another felt flower that I can make. And these are so fun to do, and you can do them in so many different colors because there's so many different colors of felt that we have available to us. And you can get felt at any craft store. I attached my sweet bow there in the center of the swag using that pipe cleaner on my swag. And then I am going to be using this greenery that I got from Craft Outlet. It is faux greenery called Sweet Annie. And I'm so happy that I got some of this. I was inspired by a fellow wreath maker, floral designer that said where she got it from. And I'm so appreciative of that. So I am just taking off just little pieces of that and then gluing it in my bow just to give it a little bit of softness. And then I'm going to be putting my pink flower there in the center because it's so cute. And then also I am going to be adding some pip berries to my bow just as it's kind of coming out of the bow. I really feel that really kind of helps just soften up this whole bow, this whole arrangement, and I'm just doing that just with some hot glue. And just a reminder, guys, I was inspired by a TikTok from a fellow creative. Her name is Painted by Mandy East. Again, I will have her linked below. I was inspired and I wanted to make one for myself, and so I am so grateful that we have so many fellow creatives that can inspire us. All right, guys, so here is what I was mentioning, that this is what I do to cover up the back of the on the back of my door hanger. I just use pieces of felt. It just helps with covering up the bind wire, and then also it provides a little bit of a soundproof for not clanking or clapping or whatever you call it against the door, knocking against the door, if the wind or whatever moves it. So anyway, there you go. And I absolutely love the way that this sweet beaded bunny door hanger turned out. Been many creators who have created this birdcage using one of those football forms from the Dollar Tree, and so I decided to put my spin on it. So what I'm using is one of the football forms from the Dollar Tree, as well as all of the supplies that you see here. Now what I did is I just took my wire cutters and cut off in the middle. And then you can see there that little extra piece I just discarded. To give my bird cage a distress look, I'm just kind of stippling on some plaster color chalk paint and just kind of, giving it the coverage that I wanted. I put that to the side to dry because I'll work on that a little bit later. Okay, so I'm using one of these 8-inch metal pie pans that I got from the Dollar Tree. Now, I wish I would have got the smaller one, but anyway, I'm just using what I had. And so I just trying to make my own rusty distress look of it just with paint. So I put tons of plaster color chalk paint. I also used some acrylic brown paint. I used my antique wax. And so honestly, it took me a little bit of time, but I just kind of played with it until I got the look that I like. And this is how my pan turned out with all of the layers of paint. All right, so I have this 4-inch just terracotta bottom that I painted with cashew. That is what I'm going to use to kind of use as my nest. All right, so I also have this package of finials from Walmart. I took out the 4 that I wanted and I gave them, just some distressing using that antique wax. Then what I did is I use them on the bottom of my pie pan or my bird cage just to give it a stand. I just adhered those with E6000 as well as some hot glue. All right, so then that terracotta pot bottom is just going to add like a nest just to kind of give it a little height. I am just using 4 tumbling tower blocks from the Dollar Tree just to lift it up a bit, just attaching those with hot glue and some E6000 just to just to give it some height. All right, so then now I'm going to start adding my Spanish moss and all of my things to, make my bird cage. Now, I'll be honest with you, I had purchased 2 different birds. One, I had the larger one I already had on hand. It was a little bit too big for my little bird cage. And then I got a smaller one. Well, that one was too small. So I really needed kind of like a medium one. But I am here to encourage you, to inspire you, just to show you, different things that other people have done. And I am inspired by them. And so I want to put my own spin on it. And so that is my purpose for you. Use what you have. And so that's what I'm doing. I know my bird's a little bit too small. I wish it was a little bit bigger. But anyway, I am just, forming my bird cage or my Spanish moss. And then I have some pit berries that I found at a yard sale. I found a big old bag of them for $1 and they had my name on them. I'm like, oh yes, I'm taking those home. They're a little bit worn and rustic. And so I am just, adding a few sprigs of those to my bird cage just for some spring softness. So I just started positioning my little bird in my cage just to get the placement that I wanted. And then to kind of close off my bird cage, I had some of these rusty springs that I found I think at a yard sale. I think I found these at a yard sale. Anyway, but they were I was going to wrap them around, like the bird cage to kind of have it closed. Well, they were too stiff. There was no stretching them. And so I just decided to use a few of those pitberry sprigs just to wrap them around some of the wires, just to give it, just to tie the project all in together. Yeah, and I really wasn't satisfied with that either. So I went digging in my stash and found some of these nest and some more neutral colored eggs. And so what I did is I took that Spanish moss out of that clay pot, little platter thing, and then I just put the nest in there and pulled out those bright colored eggs and just added a few of the muted color eggs. And oh my goodness, I love this so much. Oh yes, that's what I needed. My bird fits great in there. What I did, just have it here on the side table, I just added a strand of just some fairy lights from the Dollar Tree, just battery operated fairy lights. And I just love how my little football wire form birdcage turned out. For my supplies, I'm using one of these boards from Dollar Tree, as well as some asparagus fern and some greenery in my stash. Now, the orange and white ribbon came from Hobby Lobby, and then I'm also going to be cutting that with my pinking shears. Now, this board, as I said, is from Dollar Tree. It measures about 16 inches by 6 inches, and it's perfect for little projects like this. So what I did is I just took the jute string off of the back, and then to measure my carrot, I figured out how big I wanted the, top part of it, and then I just kind of decreased the size a little bit as I went down the carrot. Now I'm using my friction pen, which is a disappearing ink. I got those off of Amazon, and so it's great for little projects like this where you want to mark something. Before I glue down my ribbon pieces, I want to make my top part. So as I said, as I mentioned, I have some of this greenery that I had in my stash. I think this asparagus looking greenery came from Walmart, and then the other one, I think I got that from Hobby Lobby. It's just kind of pieces that I just am layering together just to make me a whimsical carrot here. And so then once I gather them together, then what I'm going to do is cut off some of that end. But first, just to kind of hold it all together, I'm using my floral tape. That's going to be covered up. I just have the brown. You can also get floral tape like in green, but I'm out of that and I just have this brown, but I'm going to be covering up with some burlap ribbon anyway, so it was no big deal. And once my bow, I put it on there, you didn't even see any of this. And so I just cut off the ends of it just so that it was straight and not straggly. And so then, as I mentioned, I'm using some of this burlap ribbon. That probably came from a Walmart like after Christmas. And I love it for, little projects like this. All right, so then to glue down my ribbon pieces, I'm using my Fabri-Tac glue. And first I started, just using the nozzle. Well, then I got smart and said, work smarter, not harder, Tracy. So I got a stick and then, just dipped it in the Fabri-Tac glue and kind of spread it on like you're spreading butter on a piece of toast. And that worked much better. And so then I got all of this glued down, and this Fabri-Tac glue dries clear, and so there was no problem. Once I got to the top part, I wanted to glue down my, like the top part of the carrot before I glue down my top piece of my carrot. So I just do that just with some E6000, and I know I didn't show that, but also I use some E6000 glue as well as hot glue to make sure that the top of my carrot was glued down really well. So then once I got that all in place, then I glued down my top piece of my carrot so that it would kind of help mask that greenery and look really nice. Okay, so then for a hanger for my sign, I'm just using this 4-ply jute. I just tied 2 knots on the end so that it would hold and look very nice. This jute 4-ply comes from Hobby Lobby. And so then I just do it on the other side as well. And then I just make sure and glue that down really well so that it, does well with for the hanger. And I like to use the Gorilla hot glue. I do feel that I get a very good hold with that. And this is how it looks. I love it so much. All right, so then now I'm going to work on my bow. And so I pulled out some different fabrics as well as different ribbons and trims. And so I'm just cutting here and just making kind of like a messy bow. I have some frayed burlap from Hobby Lobby. I have some coffee stained muslin. I just have some different laces and trims and all of that good stuff. So I'm just kind of making an X pattern, and I'm also going to be adding some of that burlap to make a bow with it. And then I'm going to make a little tag that says Hippity Hoppity, because we all love that for springtime and our sweet DIY ribbon carrots. So the burlap ribbon has wire in it, and I just make the 2-loop bow and use my little tiny attacher to staple it off in the middle. And then I just use a piece of muslin fabric just to tie it all off. Okay, so for my tag, this is a manila market tag. The brown marker is a Posca brown marker. It is the 5M, which is the larger one, and I got that off of Amazon as well. And so I'm just hand lettering Hippity Hoppity here, just doing my happy dots. And, you know, just what I like to do. That is just kind of my style for my country crafts. And then once that lettering is dry, what I do is just kind of bend it back and forth just to give it some an aged look where it's not so crisp and clean. I want it to look a little roughed up. And so then I'm using my vintage photo distress ink and just a little finger dauber and just going around just to give it, you know, some color around the tag itself. Then I say, oh, you need some little doodling. So I have my ultra fine Sharpie marker in the color brown. I bought a big pack of the colored Sharpie markers 1 year for Christmas. I think I got them from Walmart, but you know, it could be, you can get Sharpie markers really anywhere, and the colored ones are just so easy to find now. Okay, so then for my tag to attach it to my bow, I'm using some hemp cording or jewelry cording. I just tie off a little piece of that. Then I'm going to add a bit more whimsy by adding more of that jewelry cording, just making a 2-loop bow, 4 loops all together, 2 loops on each side. I just tie that off and then just tie it all in the middle. And then I'm going to glue that to the top of my carrot just with my hot glue and E6000, just to make sure that everything is nice and secure. Then to kick it up a notch and add a bit more pizzazz, I have this craft bond adhesive as well as some glitter, and I just attach some of that, or just spray some of that on there just to kick it up a notch and add a little bit more whimsy. Some of the supplies I'm using for this project. Now first I took the wood bunny and just used my heat tool to heat up the tail and the inner part of the ears to get that off, because I'm going to be adding some fabric. One of the plastic tiles. Now I got mine from Family Dollar because I could never find them at the Dollar Tree. Anyway, so I flipped my bunny over to the side that I wanted to trace so that it would be the right side. Then I just cut it out with my scissors and then glued it down with some Fabri-Tac glue. I did have to go back in some spots to add some hot glue around the edges just to make sure that it was, you know, down. So I'm taking the lavender chalk paint and I am giving it a good coat of that just with this little sponge brush roller. And then once that dries, I go back later and add a second coat. While my bunny is drying, I'm going to Mod Podge some, put a layer of Mod Podge on my wood inner parts of my ears, and then I'm just going to add some fabric. I cut off some pieces of that beautiful fabric just so that I could get these flowers on there, and then I just cut off the excess, you know, just with my fabric scissors. Okay, so then now I'm taking just thin strips of the fabric. I ripped it apart and then I cut about 4-inch strips, and just enough for me to kind of work with. I tie it off in the middle and then I'm going to trim it pretty good. This is going to be my fluffy tail for my cute little lavender bunny. When my bunny is dry, I'm taking some plaster color chalk paint as well as a palette knife and just going along and just kind of hitting the high parts of that raised area of the plastic tile. This really just kind of gives it like a chippy look and just really kind of just gives it the distress look that I like for my projects. Now in some spots I was kind of being a little too fast and I got a little too clumpy. So what I did is I just went back and just added more of the lavender paint and, so that it wouldn't be so splotchy in certain areas. I use my distress ink just to go around the edges to give it a shadow. And then I glued the inner part of the ears on. I glued the tail on. And I'm going to make a small tag for my bunny using some of these tags. These are from a Walmart. Now I'm also taking a piece of muslin fabric and I just hand lettered blessed on there. I'm going to rip that or give it the jagged edges, and then I will glue that on the tag. And then I'm going to be using some of that fabric as well as some moss green gingham fabric just to rip some strips and make a bow. I'm also using some jewelry cording. I like to add this to my bows and that kind of thing. I think it gives just a little bit of a rustic touch. Starting with one of the wood carrots from the Dollar Tree, as well as some pumpkin chalk paint and some green fern paint. So I gave it a coat of pumpkin chalk paint for the carrot, and then for the top of the carrot I gave it the fern green. So then now I'm just taking my fan brush and just a small portion of it. I take just a few bristles of it and I'm making a faux plaid pattern. This is my favorite way to make a pattern for my country projects, and so I just go down vertically and then I go back across horizontally. And so then I'm going to add a bit of shading. So I just take a flat paintbrush and some paint. And my method is I dip half of my brush in paint, the other half in clean water. And then I blend on those blue paper towels. And then I go around the outside like edges. And then I go in some parts of the faux plaid pattern. And then once that's dry, I just take my black Sharpie marker just for some extra doodling and dimension and just really kind of highlight a lot of the areas. And so I do the same thing with my white paint, and I just take my thin detailing brush and just go around and just add some doodling, some squiggles, and just a lot of extras just to make my project pop. Then I will add some paint splattering, and I do this with a stiff stencil brush and a stick, and I just do some paint splattering. Now these tags are like paper bag feeling tags. Those came from Walmart, and I just hand lettered carrots for sale, and then I put my happy dots on there, as well as I went back and added a white highlight in each of the happy dots just to bring them out a bit. Then I'm taking my distress ink in Vintage Photo and a finger dauber, and then I go around and the tag, crumple it up a little bit just for texture and dimension, and then I just take a few sprigs of raffia and just wrap it there around the top, tying that tag on there as well, and I have a cute little carrot for the spring season. cut out bunny is from the Dollar Tree. The plastic tile is one I picked up from Family Dollar. Now this frame is made just like this. I got it on clearance at Hobby Lobby during their clearance sale. So for the bunny, I just turned over the plastic tile and then take my time and trace it out. Since this bunny has a little, notches, I just take my time and cut it out, and it looks really, really nice. So what I'm going to do is give this bunny a 2 coats of plaster color. Waverly chalk paint. This is just my favorite color that I like to use for my projects. And then once that is dry, then I take my brown color. Now this is milk chocolate. And no, actually it's espresso. It's espresso. And I just take a palette knife. I just think I picked up a set of these at the Dollar Tree. And so I'm just taking my time and just going through and kind of hitting the high points and just giving it a rustic chippy look. Now, once all of that is dry, I'm taking my Distress ink in Vintage Photo and just going in, giving it roughening it up just to, give some distressing to that white paint. To give my bunny some height, I'm using some of these larger tumbling tower blocks. I picked up this set from Five Below. Then for background, I also found this beautiful cardstock. It is from Hobby Lobby. I got it when they were doing their clearance sale. And so what I'm doing is just measuring it so that I can cut it out with my cutter, and that way it will fit nicely in the back of the frame. Now this is a 12 by 12, which I cut down, and the frame is a little bit larger than that, so I'm okay with it because I'm going to use some Excelsior at the bottom to cover that up. And to adhere the paper, I just use my adhesive tape glider if that is something you're interested in, and you can get it in the craft store, or I do have it listed in my Amazon shop. So to get my bunny to stick onto my frame, I just use a combination of E6000 glue as well as hot glue. I don't mix them together. Usually I go around, I put the E6000 first and then I go around it with the hot glue so that the E6000 is the permanent hold and then the hot glue is the instant hold. And to cover up the bottom to kind of mask that part where the paper didn't fit, just using some fine Excelsior that I get from the craft store and just putting that in the bottom, positioning it the way that I like. All right, so then I pulled out a 20 millimeter split ball. Now this is going to be his nose, and so I'm using a cashew to give that a color for the nose. Now for the whiskers, I pulled out some sisal twine as well as my Stiffy fabric stiffener. Now this is a liquid, and so I just cut pieces of the sisal twine and then I just put them in the stiffener. I do have some gloves that because it is messy and it gets all over my hands, so I just kind of cut it and just soak it and just spread it out on some parchment paper to let it dry, and then I just glued everything down. It just really it didn't make it really, really stiff. It just made the whiskers formed where they would stick out straight, that they are not curled like they were on the roll. And so then I just glued everything down and then glued the nose right there in the center. Then I just took my scissors and just trimmed off each of the whiskers. I wanted them to stick out a little bit more, and that Stiffy helped me accomplish that because it helped them stay straight so they wouldn't curl like a roll does on the rope. All right, so then these are the ribbons and trims that I'm using just to make a small bow for my bunny's ear, and I'm just using some different ribbon that I got from Hobby Lobby. I'm also using some coffee stained cheesecloth. I have some ribbon and trims. Like I say, I pick up ribbons and trims at either at Hobby Lobby or usually at Walmart. And so then I just make the bow the way that I want, and then I'm going to glue that there right at the top of the ear, just like that. Now for the flowers, I found these cherry blossoms over at the Dollar Tree, and so I just cut off a few of those stems and then just stuck it in the bottom of the Excelsior. That Excelsior, it gives a bit of whimsy, and it also adds a filler for me to stick things in. And yes, it just this came out very nice. I'm very happy with it, and it looks very high end. I'm using another one of the wood forms from Dollar Tree and some spackle to cover in the hole at the top. I decided not to use that paper mache cross on this particular project. So for the brown undercoat, that is going to be the crackle that comes through. I'm using Espresso, which is a Deco Art Americana color. So once that paint was dry, I am just putting a pretty good coat of school glue all over my bunny, and I let this dry till almost completely dry. And then what I did is I gave it a coat of plaster color chalk paint, and then the magic happens. And so what I find is when I'm using the school glue, the thicker I get it in areas, and don't let it dry quite as long as I do the actual crackle medium, I get a better crackle. So this is still a work in progress. So I just kind of want to share my tips along the way as I discover working with school glue and getting this beautiful crackle. Okay, so then I have this little box, which is a little sign from the Dollar Tree also. And then I have this cardstock. Now I got this pack on sale on clearance at Hobby Lobby recently. And so I'm just picking out the one that I want. And then I measure out the sides on each, the front and the back, as well as the sides of the small box. And then I just use my trimmer to trim down the paper to the size. Then I'm just using my adhesive tape glider, which is double-sided tape. And that is what works really good for me, just to get everything attached to the box. Like I said, I did do the front and the back, because once I attach my bunny to the back, you can see part of that. So I wanted to make sure that I have all of the sides covered. Now I am taking my Distress ink in Vintage Photo. This is my favorite color, and just a finger dauber and just going around the sides and the outside of the box just to enhance it, just to give it some definition. Then I also do the same thing with the bunny around the outline. I just go around and just add some distressing ink just as a shading to my bunny, just to kind of bring it out a bit more. Then I take my fine Sharpie marker, which is in the color brown. And so I'm just doing a little bit of doodling all the way around the outline of the bunny. Now I like this look because it is just something that is what makes my country crafts. And so I appreciate you being here and letting me know how much you are inspired by my crafts. You are a blessing to me, and I thank the Lord every single day for my true craft, my true crafty friends that are here for the right reasons. Thank you so very much. All right, so now then what I do to attach my box is I'm just using E6000 as well as hot glue, and then just attach the box there in the front. So then I pulled out some neutral greenery and just some flowers, some little cherry blossoms. I have some styrofoam that I've cut down and just put it inside the box. Now in that box, it has that little bitty just a little bitty square of things. I just popped that out because that was in my way. And so I have some lamb's ear here. I just stuck that in, and I like to add some styrofoam to my box because it really kind of helps me with my florals and my greenery and that kind of things. I also have some pit berries, and these beautiful flowers are cherry blossoms from the Dollar Tree. I also have, as I mentioned, some pit berries, some lamb's ear. I also have some small greenery with white flowers that came from Hobby Lobby, Walmart, Dollar Tree, Hobby Lobby. That's usually where I get the majority of my florals. And keeping with the neutral theme, I just added a little bit of shading in the inner part of the ear as well as on the cheeks, just to enhance it a bit. I didn't put a face, a nose, eyes, or anything like that, which one certainly could, but I just wanted to just kind of give it just a little highlight, and I love the way that this look. I kind of paired it here with some battery operated lights from the Dollar Tree, and everything just looks so nice and pretty and perfect for spring. You can make cute little planters using some recycled items, just like this tin can. Now, what I did is I gave it a couple of coats of sandstone chalk paint. I find that chalk paint sticks very well to tin cans. And so the burlap ribbon that I'm using is this beautiful quarter full burlap ribbon that I picked up from Hobby Lobby. And if you can find it on sale, that's an even better deal. And so what I did, guys, is I just hot glued it there to the can, and then just wrapped it around. Hot glue sticks are very nice to this. As I said, I love to use chalk paint, and this is one of the reasons, because it sticks very well to metal and glass and all that kind of thing. And I can glue my ribbon there and don't have any issues. So the part of the ribbon that is sticking up, I'm just hot gluing that down over the top of the can so that it looks very nice and finished. And so this is how it looks, just like this. So what I'm doing for the actual like trim, now this burlap trim came from the Dollar Tree, and so I'm just hot gluing it around. I usually start where the crease is in the back, and then I kind of meet it up so that everything, it looks nice and all just kind of ties in together. Now, so for a stand for this particular one, what I have are 3 20mm balls, just wood balls, wood beads, and I just have them from a pack that I've probably purchased off of Amazon. And so I just glue them to the bottom of the the bottom of the can, my little planter, just like in a triangle. And I use E6000 as well as hot glue just to give me the permanent hole with the E6000 and then the instant hole with the hot glue. So for the second can, what I'm using is one of these candlesticks out of a pack from Hobby Lobby. And then I'm doing my favorite method of putting some stain on this little wood item just with my antique wax, and to attach that candlestick to the bottom of the can, I'm just using E6000 as well as hot glue just to stick it there in the middle. And then this gives me a little riser for this planter. And I love the way that these turn out. You could just pair them with all kind of different fun spring things, just greenery, just really make them fit your decor and just without breaking them. For this project, I am taking some gingham carrots. These I got at Hobby Lobby, snagged those when they were on clearance. And so I want to make some neutral farmhouse decor. So what I did is I took out the green part, and then I'm going to paint those a neutral color. The color of paint I used was sandstone. It is a chalk paint, and just paint it on the carrot, and it covered very well. And I know I do love my checks, my gingham, all of my different patterns, but I had so many of these packages of carrots that I snagged on sale, and so I wanted to find something else to do with them. So this is as an idea, and I hope that you're inspired too. So guys, what I did is I gave them a coat of sandstone chalk paint, and just one coat, real, good coverage, did very well. And so then I have this quarter full burlap ribbon that I got from Hobby Lobby, and it has the wire on the ends. So I didn't want that because it made that look like a band. So I took off or cut off the edges of the wire. And so then I am just hot gluing it down just as I get it, around the carrot. For the rustic rope that's wrapped around my carrots, I have this sisal twine, also from Hobby Lobby. I just stick it there in the top, then wrap it around, just giving it a dot of hot glue as I go around, just to keep it in place. Now for the green tops of the carrots, the greenery also came from Hobby Lobby. I just cut off sprigs of that and hot glued it right there in the top. That fits very nicely in there. Now for a bow, I am just taking some muslin fabric, just strips of that, as well as some ivory trim, as well as some burlap. Most all of this came from Hobby Lobby or either Walmart. So I cut the burlap just as just a strip of it so that it would just sit right up underneath there. I just glued it right there to the top. And then for the trim and the muslin fabric, I just made it to wrap around the neck of the carrot where the greenery part is. And then I also did a hemp cord, or like jewelry cording. I make a small bow with that. I love all the different textures together and just love how all these high-end rustic carrots turned out. Project, I'm making a Happy Easter egg door hanger using one of those eggs from the Dollar Tree. Now this has some glitter on it, so I'll be sanding that off. I'm also using all of the paper that I'm using today is from this paper stack that I got from Michael's a few years ago, but there are friends that still have it. They told me they still have it. All right, so what I did is I sanded off the majority of the glitter, and then I wiped it off, as best I could. And so then now I'm just kind of cutting these papers down so that I can tear them. I'm going to tear the edges, and I did tear both edges, not thinking, hey girl, why are you even wasting your time? Because one of them was going to be covered up. So I just, wanted a torn edge, and I only really needed to tear one of the edges. So I'm going to start laying them out the way that I kind of want them on my egg. And then I said, I want to distress the edges. So I pull out my vintage photo distressing ink, and I distress the edges, to give it a rustic touch to it. And so I just use that with my little finger dauber and my little vintage photo ink, and just do that. Yeah, if you've been following me for any length of time, you have seen me do this already. Now, I do want to share one of my mess ups that I did. I'm just going to attach the paper with some double-sided tape. This is my adhesive tape glider that it just has adhesive tape, and I've had it for many years. I got it from Michael's. I do have it in my Amazon store, but as you can see here, I'm working at an angle you know, not working upside down, you know, not upside down, right side up, like right in front of me. And so when I put my paper on, guess what? My paper was sideways, silly girl. And so I ended up, you know, pulling all of that off and then kind of having to start over once I realized that my paper was going crooked. And so, once I realized that you need to put your egg in front of you so that you can see and make it straight. So I'm just sharing if you do a project like this, that you don't make my mistake. For the hanger for my egg, I'm going to use some beads from this garland that I picked up after the fall season from Hobby Lobby. I'm going to be using 5 of those beads. I love the color of them already. I don't have to do anything to them. And then I just make a loop and going to tie that off so that, you know, it kind of stays. And then that loop is what I will hang on my hanger. Anyway, so then I just tied it off in a knot about 3 or 4 times so that it would, you know, be secure. All right, so then now I'm going to make a messy bow for this, and I love this jute ribbon that I got. I don't know what it's called. I guess it's ribbon from Hobby Lobby in the spring section. And so guys, I just cut off just, you know, different strips of burlap, and I have just different laces and trims and all of that fun stuff. Just pulled out colors from this egg and just, you know, layering them all. Then I'm going to gather all of that together. I also have just some extra strings from Burlap that were kind of like hanging out. And I'm like, you know what? I love that. It just makes my messy bow a little bit messier. And so I just gather it all together. I secure everything with a pipe cleaner. And then I use my needle nose pliers to get a really good, you know, tight, you know, tightness to the back. And then I just attached it to, you know, glued it on to the corner of my egg, and I love the way that this is turning out. I hope you do too. I also added some fine excelsior into the middle of the bow just to add a bit more whimsy. And then I had made one of these felt flowers. It's like a peachy, pinky kind of tint. And I just put that there in the middle, and I just think it looks really pretty. All right, now I'm going to make just a small sign. I'm just going to hand letter with my fine Sharpie marker. Happy Easter. I put my happy dots on there. I also, you know, give it the torn edges just to give it the jagged edge. I'm going to use that same vintage photo distress ink and, you know, just kind of roughen it up a little bit, just the way that I like. And then I'll attach it to my sign just using some pop dots or foam dots, photo dots, whatever you call them. I just glued those on the back just to give it a little bit of height. So I glued the smaller sign on there and thought that, oh, okay, this project is complete. So when I was doing the pictures and, you know, setting it up for my video, I'm like, oh gosh, girl, that is too small. So I went back and took that small sign off. I did a little bit larger one. I just hand lettered Happy Easter. I'm going to do the same technique as far as doodling around and adding some vintage photo distressing ink. I will crinkle it up to give it that aged look, and then I will attach it to the front of my sign with some of those foam dots just to give it some height. And I love this sign a little bit better. So it just really, you know, I don't really know what I was thinking, but once I put it on there and was taking my pictures for the video, I'm like, oh no, that little sign is too little. So that's why I went back and made another sign for the egg. And also I had just put little commas or just little white highlight in each of the happy dots, which I forgot to do on the little small one. So I'm glad that I redid it, and I hope that you do too. I am using 2 of these paper mache tulips. Now, I picked these up at the Target dollar spot. A few years ago, they were regularly $3, and so I've had them in my stash for a few years and didn't really know what I wanted to do with them until I was inspired to make some cute tulips using some of this beautiful fabric as well as some gingham. I'm going to be adding that to that as well. So I was going to add some gingham, just do the heat transfer method of adding Mod Podge and then adding fabric, but I changed my mind kind of mid project here. That's what I do a lot, and I pulled out some school glue, and I'm going to be making the crackle finish look on the stems of these tulips. And so what I do is I give a generous amount of the school glue, and then I just spread it out with a foam brush. I let it dry to a tacky consistency, and then I'm going to go over it with the color of paint that I want to be on top, because I want the white color to show through the cracks. And so this is Moss Waverly chalk paint, and that is that you can pick that up at Walmart. I just love this color for projects this time of year. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to let each side dry and then add the crackle to like the sides, and then also the other side, because this is two-sided, and let that dry completely. So this beautiful fabric came from Walmart, and I'm just using my little mini iron, my little Cricut mini press, just to press out the creases. And then I'm going to give a coat of Mod Podge, let that dry, and then I'm going to be using the heat transfer method. If you're not familiar with that, just really quick, you put a layer of Mod Podge on your surface, let that dry, then using a little mini iron, I use a mini Cricut heat press, and then just the white paper that you saw, that is parchment paper. I use that as a barrier, and then I just iron that on the top of my tulips the way that I like. I make sure that I get all the way around the edges so that I don't have any of the fabric coming up. So I have this checkered or gingham fabric in green and white, and so I think it's perfect. I just tie it around to make a bow for each of the stems. And because this fabric is limp, I use my Stiffin Quik. This is a stiffening spray. You can get this anywhere like fabric and sewing supplies are sold, and it really does make a difference just with some limp fabric or limp ribbon just for your projects. And I just absolutely love the way that this turned out. I absolutely love cute whimsical faces, and these Farmhouse Rustic bunnies are so stinking cute. I also made some, I call them my Picket bunnies, and what's special about them is I'm using the ears they are poinsettias. I just use those. I had some of those on hand, and I use those for some of the projects. Here's one that I did using a headband that had some pink and white, and that is included in a different video. I will link to that as well, because guys, I do love cute whimsical faces, and making these cute bunnies, there is no exception. So let's go ahead and get into how I made them. These poinsettia flowers that I have left over. Now these beautiful poinsettia flowers are from a vendor. I know I'm going to get questions about that. Where did you get get those from? I had them in my stash from Christmas for the local gift shop that I work part-time for. And I thought that they would be perfect for these cute little farmhouse bunnies. Now, did you notice that that bunny had a black nose on it? And so I wanted to make a farmhouse bunny. So I was playing around with the black nose. Well, then I was like, those look too much like mice. So I ended up going ahead and painting over those black noses and then adding some glitter to the nose for some extra sparkle and pizzazz. So I wanted to explain that part because in some of the video, you will see some of the bunnies with black noses, but that's the reason why. Okay, I started with these Scrapwood. They're 2x4s. I will leave the size of the bunnies here on the screen so that you will know. I gave each of them 2 coats of white chalk paint. Then now I am going around the sides, doing some shading with my gray paint, and starting out I just dip half of my brush in paint, half of my brush in water, blend it on a paper towel, then I go around it and I give the shading like that. Now, since these were rustic farmhouse bunnies, I did a layer of gray, then I go back over it and give a layer of the brown because I like the combination of both of those for my rustic farmhouse little things here. And so anyway, for the cheeks, I like my cheeks to be more rectangle up and down. So I'm just using a stencil brush and stippling on some cheeks. And then I'll go back over and just give some white shading and also shade around the cheeks and make the eyes and just make everything so cute and fun. Okay, I am calling these my Picket scrap bunnies. And the reason is because this was an old fence, these boards were, that my brother and sister-in-law gave to me many years ago, and I just never did anything with them until now because that is what I do. I'm such a craft hoarder. Anyway, so these boards were the long pickets. They were like, for a fence. Anyway, so I just had my husband cut them down so that I could maneuver and handle them a little bit better. And so what I did is I gave each of them 2 coats of white chalk paint. Now, when I say 2 coats, I didn't go very heavy. I wanted it to be enough coverage, but I didn't want it to be totally solid. I hope that that makes sense. For my painted bunnies here, I have been using small wooden hearts, and it's just because I have an abundance of those left over from my woodworking days and my craft show days. So I have a lot of these on hand. You can get them anywhere unfinished. Wood pieces are sold like Hobby Lobby, Michael's, Joann's. Any of those places have unfinished wood in different shapes and sizes. A furniture plug would work, a button, if you really want a heart and you don't have it, you can cut it out of foam board or scrapbook paper, cardboard, an old cereal box, fun foam, construction paper, or you can get, someone to cut some wood shapes out for you. That would work as well. Don't stress about it. That is one of the things that questions that I got is what can they use for a nose? Anything. I've even seen people use old bottle caps. Search Pinterest because you will get a ton of ideas. Anyway, so I'm just continuing here by just shading my bunnies, just adding some dimension and depth and making them really cute. This cute grapevine cross came from Hobby Lobby. I picked it up during their 40% off Easter sale, but you may be lucky and get it for more % off. I also have a styrofoam disc. Now I'm just removing the paper, and then what I'm going to do is take my serrated knife and cut down a little bit of the backing because it sticks up just a tad taller than what I wanted it to. So I just cut that off. Now how I'm going to attach it to the wire is I have some black wire. Now if I can find this in the automotive section at the Dollar Tree, that is my favorite place to find wire. It's flexible and I can bend it very easy and it holds things for me. So what I do is I just brought the wire up from the back and just kind of crisscrossed it and, secured it to the frame. Then to cover up that styrofoam, I have my fine Excelsior that I like to get at Hobby Lobby or either Joann's craft store. And I'm just going to put a little bit on there. Then I'm going to start layering on my greenery. Now this bush came from Walmart, and so I'm just cutting it all apart, and then I just start sticking some of the florals in around the outside, and then I get to a certain point, and then I want to make my bow because then I'm going to stick the rest of the greenery around my bow once I get that. So I pulled out these burlaps. This quarter full 2.5-inch burlap came from Hobby Lobby. And so what I'm using here is a easy bow maker, and if that is something that you are interested in, I will have my affiliate link in the description box below. This is my favorite way to make my bows, and what I do is I pinch it in the middle. Depends on how big the loops that I want. These are 5-inch loops, and then I twist it in the middle so that the right side of the ribbon is on top, and then I just cut off the tails. And so then I have this window pane mesh ribbon that also came from Hobby Lobby. I'm just cutting off a piece of that, actually 2 pieces, and I put them as like an X pattern. I'm not putting loops as far as the window pane. The only loops that I have in this bow is actually those bottom loops of that quarter fold ribbon. And so then I just cut off a little bit of the quarter fold ribbon as well, just to make some tails. I like to do that for my bows just to give it some character. And so then I have this 1.5-inch burlap, and now that roll came from Sam's, and so I just am dovetailing the ends of that and pinching it in the middle, and then I will make a loop, probably about a 4-inch loop, and so then I make several loops of that, and I have that one tail going up, and then I'll have the other tail going down. I just really feel that just gives a little interest to the bow. And then I will secure everything with a zip tie. And so, just kind of pulling it all up together, I kind of try to keep my fingers together so that I can get my zip tie around it. And then to attach it to the actual styrofoam, I'm just using a U-pin. I just stick it through the back of that zip tie, and then I, glue it to secure it in place. So then once my bow is secured onto my styrofoam or in the styrofoam, then I start adding in the other things that I want. Now I wanted to make this cross more farmhouse, or that the person who wants to display it could display it all year round. So I'm just using some burlaps, some whites, not really any flowers to it, just because I just wanted it to be very basic, very farmhouse. So these greenery bushes that I can find at Walmart or any other place that are reasonably priced, as well as have a lot of different greenery textures, which has a lot of just different foliage and stuff attached in one bush, that's my jam. I love that. I'm very drawn to those. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. And so then just for some added texture and just different color, I have a couple of stems of this eucalyptus that is also from Walmart. And so I just cut those off. Now, sometimes if the stem is just a little too long, one of the tips that I have is just to cut it apart and then bend that stem down from the top, only because so that it won't slide out. Because sometimes if you cut a stem off like in the middle, then it has a tendency to slip off, and you don't want that to happen. And so I just bend part of that stem down, and so then that just kind of holds it in place so that I can glue it there and everything looks really nice. So I'll continue to add greenery and fluff my bow as I go along. That's why I always use wired ribbon. That way if it gets pushed down or smushed a bit, it will pop back up just by fluffing it up. And so then just to mask all of the sides of the styrofoam and just to fill in, I'm just taking more of that fine Excelsior, just kind of pushing it in places, gluing it down. I love to add it to the center of the bow. I just really think that it adds a lot of texture and just some wispiness. And I just love the way that this cross turned out. I'm really tempted to make one for myself, but I just love this. I had this idea in my head, and I'm so happy the way that it turned out, and I hope that you did too. To cover up the back, I just took a piece of felt and just hot glued it to the back of the styrofoam where the styrofoam was exposed. And so I didn't want that. That kind of looked a little tacky. I know I didn't get a picture of that, but I just cut off a square and just hot glued it to the back. And I just love the way that this turned out. I hope you do too. Thank you so much for watching. Have a blessed day, and we will see you in the next video. I'm starting with a 15-inch wood round from Borowood.com. The high chip decor is from Hobby Lobby, and the paint color I'm using is Plaster Waverly chalk paint that I get from Walmart. So I gave it a couple of coats of that, as well as this high. Now, of course, they put that pesty sticker right there, right in the front, because this is chip decor, and it kind of pulled off the front. So it's like, why did you put it on the front? Anyway, I just dealt with that. Okay, so I'm going to do my faux plaid pattern, and how I do it, my method is I'm using my fan brush, and I use about half of the bristles, just dipping it in paint. Now this pink color is Lisa Pink by Ceram Coat, and so I just go down vertically, and then I go back and go horizontal, and it was a little bit too bright, so I took one of these brushes from the Dollar Tree and just kind of did like a dry brushing technique just to kind of soften that pink up a bit, and you know that I like that much better. Okay, so then I hand drew this bunny pattern out, and I'll be honest with you, when I finished doing this, I'm like, that kind of looks like a pig with long ears. Yes, I know everybody sees it, but I just had to go with it. I put too much time and effort into this painting, so I kind of see why now they have, you know, when people paint bunnies or that kind of thing, they put a bend in the ear. Anyway, but this was my first one that I did. And so the next time I do it, I will put a bend in the ear so that it looks a little bit more like a bunny versus a pig with long ears. Okay, so then I'm taking some of that plaster chalk paint and just filling it in. And I think I had to give this 2 coats or maybe 3. And, you know, I know that I could have traced this out and then did the background, but in the way my brain works, that wouldn't work. So I just had to paint over it. Okay, so then now I'm taking a flat tip paintbrush and just going around and giving it a border. And this blue color is Bahama Blue. That is a Deco Art Americana color. And so I just love it for this little whimsical bunny door hanger. Okay, so then once all of that is dry, for some shading, I am using Dolphin Gray and just using a smaller flat paintbrush and dipping half of my brush in paint, the other half in clean water. And then I'm just going around that faux plaid pattern. I'm going to go around the bunny and everything else because I want to give it a softness. For the inner part of the bunny's ear, I'm just going in with fuchsia color of pink and that one of those brushes from the Dollar Tree. I like it. I like these little brushes. This is the first time that I've been using these in this project, so I'll be using them in more projects because I like the wispiness of it. And so I give it several coats until I got the coverage that I wanted. I totally forgot to make my cheeks that I like to do before I start putting on my nose. So I had to improvise and go in and put that in after I had painted the nose. And so of course it was a little dark, so I just took my finger and some plaster chalk paint and I just kind of softened that up a little bit more. And so then I made some wispiness or just kind of like the plaid whimsical, you know, cheeks that I like. I just make just kind of a little stripes and then horizontal, and then I do vertical as well. And so then to add a little bit more whimsy, I'm just taking the end of a small paintbrush and dipping it in that fuchsia paint and just going in between the stripes to give it a dot, you know, just to give it a pop of color. I also added a plaid pattern to the inner part of the ears just with a small flat tip paintbrush and my detailing brush. I go back later and add a few more stripes. Now a detailing brush, if that is not something that you can find, this is an old brush that I've had for many years. A lot of the bristles have fallen out. The handle is broken and I love it so much. It's like one of my favorite brushes that I have. So if you can't find one, just find a thin liner brush, take out some of the bristles, pull them out or cut them out, and then you'll have, you know, you just want a few bristles on a detailing brush. All right, so then now what I'm doing is going to make the eyes, and I like the more almond shape whimsical eyes. There are a lot of painters that do eyes differently. You can use the end of a paintbrush. You can use, you know, different styles of, you know, just researching, Googling how to do eyes, and I just like the more almond shaped eyes. I draw them out with my friction pen, then I go back in and fill them in with black paint. I use my little detailing brush to add some eyelashes. All my whimsical characters have eyelashes, and you know, all the cute little whimsical touches. I will leave a video here if you haven't seen it. I have put a collection video together of all of my whimsical characters. All right, so then I go back in and add some lines in between on that Bahama blue, and that darker turquoise is called Desert Turquoise, and that's Deco Art Americana brand as well. All right, so then I'm just taking a flat paintbrush and going in and making the eyes and making some whimsical touches, shading and doodling, just putting the white in the eyes. Depending on how you put the white in the eyes will depend on how your little character is looking. And so, as I say, guys, the beauty is in the details. All right, so then I go back and add some whimsical touches of just with my faux plaid pattern. So I'm using the ultrafine Sharpie marker and going around and adding that for my bunny. And so to actually outline the actual bunny, I use my fine Sharpie marker. It was a little bit thicker. I wanted that. And so, as I say, I just love my doodles and my black Sharpie marker. And I'm so glad that you are here, guys. If this is your first time seeing one of my videos, my name is Tracy, and I do love to share crafty ideas with a bit of rustic country charm. I have tons of videos on my channel. I would love it if you would check out my library, my playlist, and maybe consider subscribing if you are not already a subscriber. For the chip decor, which is the word hi, I had given it a coat of the plaster color chalk paint. Then I went back and gave it 2 coats of the desert turquoise color of paint. That's a Deco Art color. And then I'm using my flat paint brush just to give it some shading. Then I'll use my little detailing brush to give it some highlights. I just really feel that this makes my projects pop. And I am so grateful that the Lord has sent you to my channel, that if you like this style of painting as well. And then I use my stylus to go in and add some polka dots, just dipping in the paint every single time just to get a consistent dot on my letters. And then I will add some black paint splattering because I love to paint splatter my projects. I really feel that it just really adds the look that I am going for. And I just use a stiff brush and a stick, pull the stick across the bristles of the paintbrush, and then that projects onto my project. And also what I did to give it a little more whiskers, I just took my black Sharpie marker and just drew on some whiskers, made a cute little messy bow, added that to the top. For the hanger, what I used is just some pink wire that I had on hand in my stash. Now I gave my door hanger a coat of varnish. I like to use this varnish. I get it from the craft store, or I have it in my Amazon shop. And I love the way that this cute whimsical bunny door hanger. This next project is definitely a favorite here on my channel, and it's using one of those truck forms from the Dollar Tree. Now, I've had several of these that I've had for many years. I do have a pattern that I will link in the description box below if you want to cut it out of foam board or wood or something like cardboard or something like that, if you want to make this, because I think that the Dollar Tree has changed up their styles of trucks that they offer, but this is just to inspire you to share ideas of what you can do. Just use supplies that you already have. All right, so I painted the tires black, and then I took some pink paint, I think that was cactus pink, and I just went around the edges because I'm going to be Mod Podging some scrapbook paper onto the truck, and just cut it out using the heat transfer method, the Mod Podge heat transfer method. By now, most crafters are familiar with the Mod Podge heat transfer method, but if you're not, I'll just briefly explain. You put a layer of Mod Podge on the bottom surface, let that dry, and then using an iron, I use a Cricut mini press, like a little heat press, and then that paper that you saw, I use that is parchment paper. I use that as a buffer to just provide a buffer for in between my project and the paper. And so then the heat of the iron heats up that paper, and then it attaches to the surface. So then what I'm using now is just some gray paint, and I'm just going to paint back glass as well as do some shading around my projects. I really feel that this painting really just brings out the projects, and I have tons and tons of videos here on my channel that does share different painting tips. I usually use a flat paintbrush and dip half of my brush in paint, the other half in clean water, and then I blend there on a paper towel. The blending just gives it that faded effect, and so I really like that. And so then I'll just go ahead and continue to add just the details. You will hear me say many times, the beauty is in the details. And so then here what I'm using is my fan brush and some white paint, just making the treads of the tires. I'll continue to add some of the details inside, like the back glass, as well as on the bumper. I'll use my black Sharpie marker to add the doodles. I love doodles. I love dots. I love all kind of things. As I say, the beauty is in the details. So I'm using some shimmering silver paint, and I just take a brush and go and add a little bit of shimmer to the glass so that it kind of adds a glare. Then what I'm going to do is work on this sign, which is kind of like the tailgate of this truck. And so I'm going to be making it dimensional, adding some styrofoam so that I can add some embellishments in there, like some greenery, some flowers, and some painted Easter eggs. For my tailgate, what I'm going to use is one of these wood slats that you can get in a pack in, wherever they're sold, and also some baby pink Americana colored paint. I'm also using 4 tumbling tower blocks just to give it some height, and I painted my wood, all of the wood, with 2 coats of the baby pink, and then I'm going to go in with white acrylic paint just to, give it the background so that I can do my lettering. I will add a border around it with some of that white paint. I will also, on the sign, I will just add some stripes with some of that slate gray paint just to give it some, character and definition and cuteness of what I like to do for my projects. Then I'm going to hand letter it using a black paint pen. This is a Posca pen. It's the largest one, and I get that from Amazon. That's where I find them. They're in my Amazon store, and then I shade everything either with the white or the slate gray paint. And for my lettering, I do like to put happy dots on my lettering, and I have found a free font from defont.com. I will link to that as well if anyone is interested in downloading that font and practicing and that kind of thing. And I appreciate you loving my happy dots as much as I do. Now I'm going to add some black paint splatters, and I do that just using a stiff brush and a stick, and I just pull the stick across the bristles one time toward my body so that the paint projects onto my project. And then I went back and added just some highlights, just using some of the white paint just to, give it just a little bit of highlight. Now, when I use the Posca pens, they do tend to smear. So this is the sealer that I like to use for sealing those signs. Now, I'm going to add some of these small wooden eggs. I painted up 5 of those in just this pink, white, and that slate gray color. And then these are the paints that I'm using just to decorate. I was just kind of going with a little color scheme here, and so I just did like zigzags and dots and stripes and just all kind of cute stuff just to make them look cuter. And then those are what I'm going to stick into my tailgate. So what I'm doing to prepare my tailgate is I just have some floral foam that I just cut down, and then I glue those jingle blocks just to give it, some height, and then that's what I'm going to glue onto the back of the truck. And then the styrofoam, that is what I stick into, my flowers and my eggs are going to stick into. I also added some fine Excelsior, which I like to do. These are the florals that I'm using. They either came from Hobby Lobby, Walmart, or Dollar Tree. And so there you can see I have the fine Excelsior stuck in there. It gives a whimsical look. And so then I just kind of went through here, and just as I added the flowers, I just kind of showed you as I built them rather. And I just really love these little teal turquoise mini roses that I picked up from Hobby Lobby, and then everything is just tying so well together. I'm just so happy with it. Now for the eggs, what I did is I have these skinny wooden sticks, and so instead of painting them, I'm just using some washi tape and some gray and then some pink. I just wrap some washi tape around them just to give it a little character, and then I cut them down a bit so that they wouldn't, they would fit the height that I wanted in my truck. And so then, it just ties everything together, and I just love this sweet little spring happy Easter truck. For the tail lights, what I'm using are 2 20M split balls that I get from Amazon. And so I'm trying a new method or how to paint my split balls. I saw my friend Alyssa from Southern Crafts Corner do this. I thought it was genius. And so I just put a dot of hot glue on there, and then I'm just painting around them. It worked beautifully. Thank you, Alyssa, for showing how you do and paint your split beads. Anyway, I love the way that this truck turned out. Now, guys, I have a dilemma, and I've asked for y'all's help. There at the bottom where the tire was, I need something cute to say there. So give me your suggestions in the comments. Let me know what you would put there. And yeah, because I want something cute. I've got some suggestions already, but I wanted to ask my community to give me some more of what you would put there. Anyways, I love the way that this turned out, and I hope that you do too. Now, the sign is using one of these boards from the Dollar Tree. This happens to be an Easter sign, but the Dollar Tree does have these, for different seasons. So I just removed the feet and also whatever else was on the sign. And then I'm going to paint on the back side. And what I did is I cut off about 8 inches of this board, because that 8 inches is going to be the bunny face, and then the other part is going to be the sign. I just used some hole filler, some spackle that I got from the Dollar Tree to fill those holes that were at the top of the sign where the jute string was. And then I gave each board 2 coats of plaster color chalk paint. Plaster it's not a true white, and it's not an ivory either. And I like that color anyway. So once those are completely dry, I'm using this yellow. It's just acrylic paint, and it's a primary yellow. And I'm just taking my stencil brush and just going around the edges I'm not being very precise, very even. I'm just kind of almost stippling it on and just kind of going around just to give it a yellow color. For my bunny face, I tend to kind of stick with the same designs for my projects. And like I've said before, I like the more rectangle cheeks. And I use a stippling brush, a stencil brush, to kind of achieve the look that I like up and down. I know there are a lot of people that like round cheeks, so that's the beauty in painting. We can make it anything we want. And I use a coral color paint for my cheeks. Now for my eyes, I kind of been doing eyes for many years, and I like the more almond shape, where like at the top they kind of meet up at the top. And so what I usually do is I draw them out with a black marker, and then I go back over it with my black paint. That seems to work the best for me. I have a very thin, very loved thin liner paintbrush that I use to make my eyelashes and as well as my eyebrows. And so then now I'm just taking a pencil and just drawing out a nose, and then I just take some pink paint and I just with the brush just paint in my nose, and I give that 2 coats of pink paint. The key to making the whites of the eyes as well as small lines is to use a very thin liner brush. Now this brush has been with me for many years, and it's my favorite brush to do designs like this. And so liner brushes can be purchased anywhere. It's just to use the thinnest liner brush that you can get. Okay, so then now I'm just going to shade my bunny. And so I'm just using gray. Slate gray is the name of this acrylic paint. And so I'm just using my 1/2 inch flat paintbrush, And I dip half of my brush in paint, the other half in clean water, and then I blend on a paper towel. Then I go around whatever I want to shade, and that gives me the look that I would like. And so then next I am just taking a 1/4 of an inch flat paint brush because it's a little bit smaller space, and I'm just shading black around the nose. In my Amazon store is my favorite paintbrushes. If you want to see exactly which paintbrushes I use, they're my favorite. Okay, so then now I'm just taking an ultrafine Sharpie marker and just drawing out the mouth for my cute little bunny. Just to add a little highlight to my nose, I just took some white paint and just gave it a little swoosh. Okay, so now I'm going to work on my sign, and I have my bunny positioned, and I want to, leave enough space for my letters. I'm using that same color of gray, which was slate gray, and I'm just taking a liner brush and just giving it some lines on the background just to give it a, decoration, kind of break up the background a little bit. And then I'm going to hand letter my Happy Easter on the sign. Now, I have been painting for many years. It is some God-given talent, and I do appreciate so many kind comments on, you like my lettering style, and I owe all the glory to God because He is the one who has given me this talent as well as the patience to be able to hand letter like this. And so I am here to encourage you as well as to inspire you that, I was determined to learn how to write with a paintbrush, and so I kept practicing and never gave up. Now, I have found a font that is a free font. It's called Gel Dotica, and it is from defont.com. It's a free download, and it is one of the best, I guess, letterings that I've found. I kind of consider my lettering style the Tinker Toy font. I found that font a long time ago. I think now you need to pay for it, but I did find this Gel Dotica font for a free download. And I shared that so that if you want to download the font, and then use like some carbon paper or tracing paper, you can, type out the letter on your computer, and then you can transfer it onto a sign and kind of follow the tracing of the Gel Dotica font, and that will give you this dotted look the way that I like to do for my signs and my letters. For my projects, I always do the extra, and that is just, something that is in me. I just love to do extras just like this with putting little highlights on the end of my dots. It's just something that I like to do, and I do appreciate so many comments and so many friends saying that they love that I do the extras, because I really feel that when you do the little extras, it does show through your project. Okay, so another thing I like to do is shade around my letters just to, bring them out a little bit. It kind of adds a little bit more definition, a little bit more depth, and also it just really adds character to your project. And I just use that. I'm using a 1/4 inch flat paintbrush and just doing the same thing, dipping half of it in paint, the other half in clean water, blending on a paper towel, and then I'll go around each letter just to give it a little bit of shadow, shading, and a little bit of highlight. So I take it a step further and go around my letters with my ultrafine Sharpie marker just to give it some squiggles and some, just some little extra. It's just something that I like to do. And it's kind of my signature. It is kind of what makes my projects pop a little. And I just go around the letters just like that and just give it, just a little bit more definition and highlight. And then I'll take my fine Sharpie marker and I go around the entire project just to give it some doodling. I love to doodle. I love happy dots. I love all of the paint splatters. I'm going to be doing that next. And to paint splatter, I do get some, comments, and I'll get some private messages to ask about my paint splattering. Now, I have found over the years, just by trial and error, is to make sure that the paint is of an ink consistency. You don't want it to be too thick because you'll have it won't splatter quite as well, and too thin you're going to have a watered down look. So I just get it to be an ink consistency, and I get the best result by using a stiff stencil brush. Of course, a toothbrush will work as well. And I use a stick to glide across my stiff brush. And so I pull the stick toward my body where then the paint will, go off on the project, and I make sure that my table or where I am splattering is covered because paint does go everywhere. But I usually do black first and then I go over it with white just to give it the look that I like. A bunny would not be complete without some cute whiskers, and I use wire that I get from the Dollar Tree. It is in the automotive section. I get asked, this is probably one of my most asked comments or questions. It is in the automotive section. It's very pliable and I love to work with it. It's not stiff. And so anyway, I cut 6 pieces. So I'm going to use 3 on each side. And I just took a paintbrush and just wrap them so that they're curly. Then I'm going to drill just a very small hole on each side of the nose. And I take those 3 wires and I kind of twist them all together. I use my needle nose pliers if I need them, just to twist them, make sure that they're all together. And then I just thread it through that hole, and I put a little bead of hot glue in the hole, and then I just thread my wire through there and then just kind of bend it on the back. And the headband that I'm going to be using next for the ears is going to kind of give it some height, and so everything stays nice and snug. We have to make a cute small bow for the top of my bunny. So I'm just sharing with you here my trims. I pulled out different trims. I get them at, different stores, Walmart, the craft stores, Hobby Lobby, Michael's, Joann's, anywhere I can find small trims like this. At the Dollar Tree, that is where I got that polka dot burlap. And so I originally cut my ribbons that polka dot at 6 inches, and then by the time I dovetailed it, it was like down to 5 inches. And so that just kind of gives you an idea of what the size is for these trims. And then I just, layer them all together. I kind of crisscross them, make a funky bow, refab bow, junk bow, whatever, you choose to call it. And so then I use a pipe cleaner just to get things really tight so that my ribbons pop. Okay, so I have these headbands that I got at Hobby Lobby, and the 2 that I picked up were this blue as well as a pink. I couldn't decide which one I was going to use, but I decided to use the blue. So what I'm showing you here is the ears are a little too wide for me for this size of this bunny. So I cut the headband in half. I just cut it with my scissors, and then I just layer it on top of each other to make my ears a little bit more closer for this bunny, because they were too wide for me. And so I just hot glue all of that together, and then I just hot glue that to the to my sign. Now, originally, when I first made this project, I had attached it. I made the sign for a wreath. Y'all know that I love to design wreaths. I do sell them locally in my hometown. That is the only place that you can get them right now. And so since I was doing this video, I had to attach, well, when I did the wreath, I kind of like wired it on to be part of the wreath. But since I was making this sign, I had to glue the actual headband to the sign, and then position my bunny face on there and hot glue that as well, and everything worked out great. So I have this sign ready to go for another wreath. So then lastly, here I am just attaching my small bow with some hot glue, and I do use Gorilla Glue sticks and have the best results with that, because that does stand up to the Texas heat. Okay, guys, I hope that you enjoyed this project as much as I did. Like I said, I have made a couple of wreaths with this sign, and probably going to be making some more. Like I said, I do sell them locally at a local store in my hometown. And thank you so
little
much.
painted bunny block using one of the blocks from the Dollar Tree. Now, this particular one had Happy Easter on it anyway, but I wanted to make it a little bit cuter. I'm also using a headband that had some cute gingham plaid ears on it. That is from the 99-cent store. I'm using some white chalk paint as well as some wire for the whiskers and a cute little wooden heart for the nose. Now, for the bow, the ribbons, I will share that once I get to that point in the video, because I wasn't sure what I was going to use. So what I'm doing here is, what I did is I took off the paper the best that I could off of that block, and a sweet viewer left me a tip of how to get that paper off of these blocks by spritzing it with water. I did that and it worked great. So I just took all of that paper off of the block and gave it 2 coats of white chalk paint. Then now I am just doing some shading of gray. I think it's an apple barrel dolphin gray is what I'm using. And I use a flat paintbrush. I dip half of my brush in paint, the other half in clean water. I blend on a paper towel, and then I go around the edges to give some shading. Then I'm using this pink for the cheeks. It's Americana bubblegum pink, and just stippling that on the block to give some cheeks. And then I just I like my cheeks to go up and down, but everyone has their own little personal preference of how they like their cheeks. So, sometimes in crafting, we look at something and we're like, something is just not right about that. And so we, do a little research and we're like, oh my goodness, I had put the bunny nose upside down. So thankfully, I was able to pull it off and then re-glue it. So no problem. And my bunny nose is correct. Hearts are not just for Valentine's. You can definitely use them anytime throughout the year, especially for the springtime. Now, what I'm starting with, here are my supplies that I got from different craft stores. So as I go throughout the video, I will share where I got those particular craft supplies. Now, what I'm starting with is one of these wood hearts, and these are in the Crafter Square section of the Dollar Tree. If you do not or are not fortunate enough to find these, you can use maybe some leftover hearts that you have from the Valentine's section. Or you can definitely cut it out of foam board or cardboard or something that's a little bit stiffer, because you definitely want to have some form to your project. So let's go ahead and get into the project, and I'm going to share what I did to create this little spring DIY that you can definitely use Valentine leftover crafts. Okay, I'm going to paint my heart with 2 coats of white chalk paint, and I just go around the edges, and then I paint the front of the heart with 2 coats of the white chalk paint. Then, to give a bit of a rustic farmhouse look that I'm going for, I'm using this acrylic paint. This is the color Burlap, and I have a stencil brush, and I just put some out on my little paint plate, and I just am dabbing it around the heart, just kind of stippling it and just blending it in as I go around. And then I will go back over the heart just in different places, kind of like where it would be kind of like a board or shiplap kind of look. And then I have a fine Sharpie marker, just going to go around the edges just to give it a bit of doodling because I like that look. And then I have some black paint and a stiff stencil brush. I'm going to splatter this heart with some black paint because I like the splattering look. You can totally cut out any of these steps that you do not like. And then to make the little pocket, I'm taking my burlap. I don't like the edges, those seams, so I'm just hot gluing those down, and then I will make a little pocket for my heart. I'm going to give a little tip that I have found works nicely. I want to put 2 holes in my heart so that my wire can go through there. And I can pull out my electric drill, but I wanted to share this tip with you because these hearts are very soft wood. If you use your poking tool, it will, and just a little elbow grease, a little pressure, it pokes through this wood quite nicely. So if you don't have, a drill or don't want to pull it out, you can maybe try to see if you can get a little hole in there because, I know some people don't have a lot of different electric tools, and sometimes we're looking for different ways to use different little gadgets. I will have a link in my description below for the poking tool that I use. You can see exactly what it looks like to look in the craft store, or you can check Amazon to have it shipped directly to you. So then now I'm using my silver wire, and I like to use the wire from the Dollar Tree. Now I've had the silver wire for a while. The wire I get is in the automotive section at Dollar Tree, and it used to come with silver, red, and black. Now it seems to just be coming with red and black, but this is the wire that I use, and it is soft and it's pliable, it's bendable, and I really like, you know, the grade that it is. And so I just am putting that through there, and then I'm going to string. I'm using 10 wood beads. I'm going to do 5 on one side and 5 on the other. And so I just string those on there, and then I just kind of bend that wire the way that I want my beads to show. Now the fun part begins for me, because I just take these little flowers and start filling up my pockets. I have some cherry blossoms from the Dollar Tree, as well as some of these pink wildflowers. The greenery is from Walmart. It is the boxwood. And then these white berries kind of look like baby's breath to me, and those are also from Walmart on a little bundle. And then I just glue everything into the pocket until I like the look. I'm going, putting it to one side, because on the other side, that's where I'm going to adhere my heart. These pitberry little sections is from Hobby Lobby. I actually purchased a garland, and they were individual little pitberry sections that were tied on the garland. And so I just took the garland apart. They're carried all the time in Hobby Lobby, and they're in the garland section back in the floral section. So if you want to look for those, I love pitberries. I love any kind of berries. And so these really speak to my heart. And I think it provides a wispiness to the project. And I just like that look. The heart I'm using is from this Color Your Own ornament pack from Dollar Tree that they did have during the Valentine's season. Now, I just want to encourage anyone that's watching this later, think outside the box. You can get hearts anywhere, and they're not just for Valentine's Day. So you may find hearts anytime throughout the year. Just because I'm using this particular one doesn't mean that you need to make it exactly the way that I do. These are just ideas that I like to share. So I encourage you to think outside of the box and use what you may already have. So I just painted the heart with some Royal Fuchsia Americana paint, and I just sanded the edges. Then now what I'm doing, I have this thick fun foam that I have in my craft room that I used for projects like this, and it gives some height to my project. So I'm just cutting off a piece of that, and then I glue it onto the wood heart. And then I have the smaller heart that I glue on top, and it gives a bit of dimension to my project. I like to use this jewelry cording or hemp cording that you can get in the jewelry section. You can get it at any of the craft stores. Walmart has it. even I've seen it at, Dollar Tree. I've seen it at Dollar General. Anyway, I'm just making 6 loops, which is 3 loops on each side. And then I just tear off a piece of that and then tie it together, just make a little knot. And then I'm going to cover up that hole that's in the wood heart. And then I'm going to put on a cute little button.
Supplies I'm using for this arrangement: the bunny butt came from Dollar Tree, the Easter pick came from Hobby Lobby, the Spanish moss came from Walmart. Now, to fill my bucket, I am going to use this tight foam. Okay guys, here's a little update. Since I have done this video, I have since discovered this gaps and crack filler. I pick it up at my local grocery store. It is in the automotive section. So I am chalking up to a bad can when I previously did this little floral arrangement because the gaps and cracks did not come out of that can, that tight foam, the way that it should. So I like to use this. I like to fill my different containers up with it because it's, if I don't have any styrofoam or something like that. A lot of floral designers, a lot of wreath makers, creators that do floral design use the gaps and crack. It just kind of helps. You can fill up different containers, kind of let it dry. I let it dry for several hours or either overnight, and it just works just like styrofoam, just to stick your picks in, your greenery, your floral, that kind of thing. It's just another option if you don't have styrofoam or if you don't want to use styrofoam, that kind of thing. And depending on how much you use will depend on how many containers you can fill up. And so I just love using it, but that's a little update for you. Different textures and greenery, some pit berries, just different things that I had in my stash that I wanted to add to my arrangement. For my bow, I'm using this burlap polka dot ribbon. Now this came from Sam's, and I'm just using, I'm doing a 6 loop bow, 3 on each side. And so what I do is I make a loop, twist it in the middle, then I turn it, like flip it so that the right side of the ribbon is on top. And I'll just continue doing that by twisting it in the middle and flipping it so the right side of the ribbon is on top. Now I was to secure it all, I used a zip tie, and then I was going to use a U-pin to stick it into the foam, but it didn't work. It's too stiff. So I had to pull out one of these floral picks to get it to stick into that foam. Again, I'm not a fan. Okay, so one of these signs, I do have these signs in my Amazon shop, but they're a little bit longer, and so I had to kind of cut it down. I just used my box blade and my scissors just to kind of give it the jagged edge on one of the ends. And so the Happy Easter is from a pack from Hobby Lobby, and I just painted that with Poodle Skirt Pink. Then for the sign, I just used some plaster, chalk paint, and just doing my faux plaid pattern. I'm doing that with Drizzle Gray. Then I kind of work in sections as I'm, painting little signs like this, like while one's drying, I work on a different part of it. So I added some dots, just some polka dots with my stylus to the Happy Easter sign. And so then while that's drying, then I am adding some brown shading to my sign. All right, so I have one of these large craft sticks. I get them from a pack from Walmart and then just cut a point at the end. I added some stain to it with a baby wipe, and then once I get that all stained, then I will add just a little bit of dry brushing for my sign. And I just stick my sign in there just like that. And this is how it looks all together. I just love it so much. Just those little bunny butts just really add a lot to your spring arrangement.
I'm preparing my tin bucket and using some Aleene's tacky glue, I just glue the styrofoam in the bucket. And so as I was looking at this, I was thinking, this may be a little bit small. So the next time I went to Hobby Lobby, I picked up another one of their medium buckets, which I like a little bit better. So it's just a personal preference, different choice. So I just filled the medium bucket with some styrofoam because that will give me a little bit more room and space to include all of my cute things that I want to include in this bucket. To paint my wood bunny, I got that wood bunny over at the Dollar General. I'm using one of the wooden plant labels from the 99-cent store. That is going to be what I'm going to adhere the bunny to and attach it into the styrofoam. So now that I have my bunny all painted, I did 2 coats of the paint on the bunny. And so now I just have my little sanding tool and I'm just going to give a little bit of distressing, have some of that natural wood come through. So I'm just taking my little sanding tool and I'm just going to go all the way around, exposing some of that little natural wood. Then I take my cheesecloth or my tack cloth. I will have a link below because I do get questions about that. I love this using for little woodworking items like this. It gets off all the little dust particles, and especially if I'm, working with glitter, anything that has the little dust particles, it really helps me, keep my area clean as well as get all of that off of my projects. I prefer to seal my wooden items, and my favorite varnish is this Delta Ceramic Coat glossy varnish. So I just put a layer of that on top of all of my wooden items. I will have a link to that in the description below of exactly which one I use. To attach the plant label to the back of my bunny, the plant label is just a tad long, so I cut it off with my scissors, and then I'm going to use a combination of hot glue and this rapid fuse glue, the wood version. The rapid fuse glue dries pretty quick, but to give it an instant hole, I'm using the combination of that as well as hot glue. So now I'm just going to figure out how or where I want my bunny in this little can. And so once I figure out the placement, I just hot glue that in the can. And then now I will work around the bunny, putting all of my little flowers and berries and other little things that I want. This green excelsior comes from the Dollar Tree, and I just decided to add it to my little tin bucket arrangement here because I thought that it would give it a pop of color as well as break up a little bit of that other color of excelsior. So now I'm just looking at this, and I've discovered that the handle from the tin bucket was behind my bunny, and I didn't like that. So I'm like, what am I going to do? So to my delight, my bunny was not all the way glued in the styrofoam. So I just pulled it out and then, turned my handle to the front, or actually brought it to the front. And then now I'm just going to hot glue my bunny back into it. So no problem. I just wanted that handle in the front. For the greenery, it's a little bit short, so I use my Still Picks machine to put a floral pick on the bottom of each of the little greenery so that I could stick it into the styrofoam. Now, I got my Still Picks machine from Hobby Lobby. It is not definitely anything that you need to have in order to create a project like this. It's just a gadget that I have in my craft room, so I'm using it. But anyway, it just provides a little bit of length on the bottom of florals so that you can insert it into styrofoam. The cherry blossoms are from the Dollar Tree. I got this color of pink as well as a white one. I just love cherry blossoms. I think that they're just so pretty. I just popped off a few of the pink cherry blossoms from the stem, just hot gluing them randomly, sporadically throughout the little grass. I've decided to do that to have a little dimension with my flowers, because then for the white ones and the other cherry blossoms, I'm just going to cut them off the stem, put one of those steel picks on there so that it gives it a little bit more height. Before I put all of the flowers on there, I want to figure out where I want to put my eggs. And I have 3 of these little plastic speckled eggs. And it already has a little hole in the bottom of this egg. So I'm just kind of using that hole, sticking a toothpick through there. And then I'm just going to hot glue the eggs into the styrofoam, placing them where I think they look really cute. Baby's breath is just what this little arrangement needs for me. This is also from the Dollar Tree. It's called Gypso. So I just cut off a few sprigs of those and just include it in the little arrangement. I love the wispiness, if that's even a word. I just love the wispiness of this little arrangement. I love the way that gypso just really adds that extra touch to this whole little arrangement. The cherry blossoms, the greenery, the bunny. I'm really glad that I decided to go with the medium tin bucket from Hobby Lobby instead of just trying to cram all of this stuff into that smaller one that I originally had to do this project.
A little spring arrangement, and these beautiful pink flowers, as well as one of those flowers and garden pails from the Dollar Tree, really does make a nice little arrangement. Okay, so these are the supplies I'm using. The flowers came from Walmart. I'm using one of those pails from Dollar Tree, and then some styrofoam and some pit berries. Now these pit berries came from Hobby Lobby. They're on the garland already. You can buy those. And then I just take those off and use them in my decor. It just really adds a lot of rustic touch. Softness and touches that I like. Okay, so I take my little bucket and just add some of the styrofoam, and then now I'm using some Excelsior. I love the fine Excelsior. It's kind of like hay. Also, people ask, what is Excelsior? It's kind of like Spanish moss, so just something like that. All right, so then I just take the little pink flowers apart, just using my wire cutters, and then I just start forming them in there. I'm not a florist, I don't claim to be or anything, but I have just found over the years that, just by just adding just different florals and just kind of layering them, stacking them up, and using things in between, just like these white pit berries that I love for my country rustic projects, just adds a lot of softness. And so, I just kind of just continue to add into my little floral arrangement. And what I was showing a while ago with the pit berries that have the steel pick, that I use my steel picks machine, and it really helps with securing my florals in place in the styrofoam. And this is just the perfect little floral arrangement to add a bit of pink and spring into my craft room. Okay, for this cute project is a bunny hop decor piece that I created using one of these wood pieces from the Dollar Tree, and I'm also going to be using the Mod Podge heat transfer method. And first I put a coat of Mod Podge on the wood bunny. I paid special attention to the edges just to make sure that they were all nice and covered so that I wouldn't have any of my paper come up. So I want to capture a specific part of the paper, so I just take my pen, something that I can see, and then just carefully draw around the bunny, and then I will cut it out with scissors, and then that is what I'm going to Mod Podge on to my wooden bunny. If you are not familiar with the Mod Podge heat transfer method, what it is I put a layer of Mod Podge on my wood bunny and it completely dried. I had my heat gun or my heat tool to help it along so that it's completely dry. And then I'm using my mini heat press that I bought from Picket, and I'm just using that as an iron, but a regular iron or other mini iron may work. And just using some parchment paper, and I make sure that my paper is on the bunny secured, and then I heat it up and pay special attention to the edges. And since I've been doing this, I do not have any paper peel up. For the banner of in front of my basket, what I started with is this piece of burlap. Now this burlap is just a strip that I've had left over from a previous project, and it already has Mod Podge on it. I like to put Mod Podge on my burlap to make it a bit stiffer. And so then I just took just some cardstock and just made me a template for a small banner, little pennant, and then I'm gonna trace this out. I found that a fine Sharpie marker shows up best for me, so I trace this out and then just cut it out so that it'll be ready. I'm going to paint just a part of the banner just to give it some pink color, and it's going to look really cute on the front of my basket. Now for the letters, what I'm using is these I just got these letters from Hobby Lobby, and I'm just using this purple color. It's the color Lavender, and I just gave that one coat of lavender color paint, and then I'm going to go back and add just some white highlight to the letters because that's what I like to do, just to make them pop. For the banner, I'm using this pink color. It is an Americana brand. Poodle Skirt Pink is the name of this pink. So I just took my 1/4 inch flat paintbrush and just went around kind of in the center just to give it some pink color. I am not going all the way to the end. As you can see, I'm just going around just to kind of fill in the middle of that banner. And then I will just glue the letters onto the front of the banner. These small baskets came from Hobby Lobby during the fall season, and I love them because it looks like little bushel baskets to me. And what I didn't do anything to the basket. I left it the color that it is, and so then I'm just going to glue these pennants to make the banner to spell hop on the front of the basket. To finish off the edges of the banner, I just made a 2-loop bow just with some jute that I got from the Dollar Tree, and then I just glue that to the ends of each of the banner just to look like it's all tied together. To decorate my basket, I'm just using a block of this styrofoam that I like to get from the Dollar Tree when I can find it. I just glue that in, and then to cover it up, I'm just using this fine Excelsior. I love this fine Excelsior. It's kind of like Spanish moss, and I have the best luck finding it at Joann's craft store. And what I do is just cover up that styrofoam and just push it into the basket, just trying to, bring it down so that I don't see any of the green of that styrofoam. And then this is what I'm going to stick my florals in. Now, this greenery with the small purple flowers came from Hobby Lobby, of course, and it just says floral on it. There's no, specific name or anything. So I just cut off sticks of this. Or sprigs of this rather. And this particular greenery comes with the little white flowers, these purple flowers, yellow, and I think pink. And I cannot wait to get some of those other colors as well. And so then I just continue just to put these little sprigs of this greenery with the purple flower in until I like the look of it. And then I'm going to attach the basket to my bunny, but I want to make sure that my bunny stands up and that, everything is, proportioned so that he doesn't lean one way or the other. So I just hot glue that basket to the front of the bunny. Actually, I used a combination of E6000 and a bit of the hot glue just to make sure I got a permanent hold. And then those white baby's breath, I got those from Walmart, and then I cut off a few sprigs of those and stuck that in there, and it was perfect for this little bunny. For the bow at the top of her ear, what I did is I just cut off some strips of just burlap, and I have this purple small dot polka dot ribbon that I got from Hobby Lobby. I love that so much. It's perfect for the spring and Easter season. And I also have some just different ribbons and lace. This one is glittery, and then I have some lace that I got also from Hobby Lobby. Probably most of these came from Hobby Lobby or either Walmart. I think that white and pink pom-pom ribbon I got from Walmart. And so I just crisscross those until I like the look. And then I get the best hold with a pipe cleaner. So I just put a pipe cleaner around it, and I'm not too worried about it, that you're going to see the pipe cleaner, because I'm going to, glue a cute flower to the center of this messy bow. Flowers came from nowhere else but Hobby Lobby in the Easter section. And so I just went through and just picked out one that I liked and just glued it there in the center of that bow. And I think it is the perfect addition to this bunny hop decor piece that I created. The wood circle is from the Dollar Tree Plus section, and it was $3 at the time. So what I'm going to do is take off that sticker just by using my heat tool to soften that glue and get that off. I also removed the 2 sawtooth hangers on the back just using my upholstery tool that I got from Amazon. Now I'm going to give it 2 coats of paint back and front just with Waverly chalk paint. It is my favorite color plaster, and then I let that dry. So for the ears, I'm just using this wire bunny frame, but I cut off a portion of it because I just want the ears, and I just use my wire cutters to cut that, and I'm just showing you here just where I cut it there at the bar so that it would all stay together. So to wrap the rope around the ears, I'm just using a package of the rope from the Dollar Tree. I pulled out 2 of them because I wasn't sure how much rope I was going to need, but I only needed 1 package or 1 skein or however they measure it of this white rope, and I just took my time wrapping it around. I used my little clamps to help me hold everything in place, glued it as well, then just wrapped it around one ear, and then I did the other ear. Okay, to start a painted project, I use a flat paintbrush and just some milk chocolate brown paint. I dip half of my brush in paint, the other half in clean water. You see me dipping it there, and then I blend on a paper towel. And I like to use a flat paintbrush for this because I feel that it gives me the best control. Now, I have been painting for many, many years, and I'm here to encourage you. Practice makes perfect. You will hear me say many, many times, many, many times, the beauty is in the details. And I still mess up, but it's only paint. And I'll just paint back over it. Sometimes I get a little bit too much, a little bit too dark. I just go back over it with some paint. Now, what I'm doing here is I am stippling on some cheeks. Now, I like the more rectangle cheeks, which are like up and down. And so I just fill them in, get them as thick as I want them for my whimsical painted projects. I'm just using a stencil brush to achieve this method right here. And so I will have a link to my favorite paintbrushes as well as this chart. I have a link to it that shows exactly what paintbrushes I use for shading and doodling and all of that kind of thing, because I do love to share the gifts and talents that the good Lord has given to me. Now, I have been painting for, gosh, over 30 years, and it is just a practice. Practice makes perfect. That's what I encourage everyone. If you don't like it, just paint over it and just figure out what style you like for your whimsical faces or for your faces. And so I'm using a thin brush here. It is a little liner brush that I've had for many years. I get questions about it, and it's just something that I've had. I was lost a lot of the bristles, and it's just something. It is my beloved little detailing brush. And so now I just am drawing out some eyes just with the pencil as well as the nose. Now I'm just coloring in the black of the eyes. I like the more almond shaped eyes. I'm just using a round brush for this. And I would suggest getting on Pinterest, searching eyes or cute faces or something like that to see what kind of face that you like. And I'm so grateful, so fortunate that so many friends love the cute little whimsical faces like this. And you send me pictures all of the time. You post it in my free Country Charm by Tracy crafting community over on Facebook. You share your love of cute little whimsical faces as well. And it just warms my heart so much. So then I'm just using some pink color of paint, just filling in the nose. And you had seen me I had drew it out a little bit bigger than what I wanted. So I just erased it and get the size that I want. Now the cheeks were just a little bit too bright for me. So I'm just taking a brush. These brushes are from the Dollar Tree, and I love the wispiness of them. So I just use some white paint just to soften those up a bit. Now I'm using my little detailing brush again and making some eyelashes. I love to put eyelashes on all of my cute little whimsical projects. I'm also giving her some eyebrows. Then now I am taking just a fine Sharpie marker and just drawing out a mouth. I'm going to go back in and add a little bit more, go over it just to make it a little bit thicker, because I want it to be a little thicker. Then I'm going to use an ultra fine Sharpie marker to add some teeth, because I wanted to give her a little mischievous look. And so that is how I just make my cute whimsical projects, my cute little characters come to life. And friends, thank you so much for being here. If you do not know, I have a playlist full of whimsical, cute little characters just like this. I will leave a link for it so that you can check it out. I have cute little bunnies, gingerbread men, just different fall characters like scarecrows. I have some snowmen, Santas, all of the cute little characters that I love to do. And I am so fortunate and so blessed when people say, I know that it's yours, because I do have a whimsical, cute little style that I do have. And I'm so grateful that the Lord has sent you to my channel. And I do hope that you subscribe if you currently are not. So then back to the eyes, I added a little bit of white highlight in there, just using a smaller brush. Then I used the end of a paintbrush just to give 2 dots. And then I use one of these smaller brushes just to shade around the nose and then just give a little shading in the mouth. Guys, this is what makes your projects pop. When you learn to add a little bit of detailing to your projects, that is the beauty in the detailing. The beauty is in the details. You hear me say that all of the time, or if you're new here, welcome. I'm so glad that you're here. And so I'm just taking a small flat paintbrush and some of that milk chocolate paint, dipping it in the water, dipping half of my brush in paint, the other half in clean water, blending on a paper towel. Then I go around each of the edges just to give it a little shading, because that is what makes the project pop. Now, if you get a little bit too heavy, you can go back over it and you can add a little bit of paint just to kind of soften it up a bit. But as I say, the beauty is in the details. And so I'll just continue to use my ultrafine Sharpie marker just to add a bit of the doodling. That is what I like to do. I like to add squiggles and doodles and paint splatters. I just love all of the different just the accents. That is just what makes my painted projects pop. I just feel that I've been doing it for over 30 years. I finally found my style of painting. And yes, this is toll painting. I get questions or I get comments that says, that looks like something from the 90s or something from the 80s. Yes, I just continue to do it because it is my style. It is what I do. And I love that so many friends love this style of painting. And I am just so fortunate to have this platform to share my gifts and talents with you. Now, to add the paint splatters, I'm just using a stiff stencil brush and just using a stick. I do glide the stick across the bristles toward my body. I do black first, then I go back and do white. I always pull the stick toward my body so that the paint projects onto my project. Now I'm just adding some freckles just to really bring her to life. And I just use the end of a paintbrush to do that. And I just added some dots on there. Okay, so then once my bunny is dry, the paint is dry and everything, I did give it a coat of gloss varnish because I love to add that. And this one is my favorite varnish to use. Now I'm going to add the ears to the back of the bunny. I just use some glue as well as some staples. I just have my little stapler here that I'm going in the wire, use my little hammer to kind of hammer those in. And then to add some kind of like covering for the back of the bunny, I just have this felt that actually is an Easter style. I got it from Hobby Lobby many years ago when they were clearancing that stuff out. And so I am just attaching that to the back of the bunny, and it kind of provides a like where it doesn't clank or against the door, like pop against the door. That is one of my pet peeves. I hate that. And so it just kind of covers up the back of the bunny. All right, so then now I have some florals here and some greenery. These beautiful pink ranunculus came from Walmart. And also the greenery, I think, came from Walmart as well. And so then I am just cutting off pieces of that, and then I'm going to wire them together and make a swag for the top of my little bunny. And I just think that she is just precious, and I hope that you think so too. For her bow, I have this ribbon that was in the mystery box that was sent to me from Courtney over at Creative on the Cheap. And so the DIYs were being used were the items that were in that box. And so that's why I'm using this ribbon. It also came from the Dollar Tree. And so I just made a 2-loop bow, just kind of eyeballed it to see how big I wanted the loops. And then I just use a pipe cleaner just to get a good hold in the middle. Then I took off a piece of that green ribbon, cut off the edges with the wire, and then I folded that in half. And then that is what I'm going to glue around the center of the bow just to give it a very finished look. And then I hot glue that to the bow, or to the garland rather. And then I was going to do it just like that, but then I said, oh no, I'm going to use some of my favorite Fine Excelsior, because I do love my Fine Excelsior. I have been using it for years, and it just really gives a wispy, whimsical look to my project. So I love to use it any chance I get. Friends, the fun is not over yet. I have tons more videos for spring, Easter, and summer, all the seasons, also some farmhouse decor on my channel. I'll be back with more designs very soon. God bless you. Have a great day, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye, guys.